6%. That's what Canadian households now owe against every dollar of disposable income they take home. First quarter of 2026, Statistics Canada. Sixth straight quarter it's climbed. Same 3 months, the savings rate fell to 3.5%. So which of those two numbers do you think your bank is worried about? Neither. One of them is their product. Here's what I can explain. The Canadians who are fine at 55, real money, real plan, are not earning more than you. Same salary, about $64,000 ahead by 65, and not one extra hour worked to get there. So what are they doing that you aren't? 4 things. All 4 inside the 48 hours after the money lands. Same 4, same order, every payday. And the 4th one is a single page from the Canada Revenue Agency that pays you every 2 weeks instead of once a year. Why has nobody told you it exists? We'll get to the form. It's worth about $138 a paycheck and it takes 20 minutes. But it does nothing on its own, because the 4 moves only work in one order, and the order is the entire skill. Here's why. Every move you can make on payday has a number attached to it. A rate of return. Some of those numbers are guaranteed, and some are a hope. Paying down a credit card at 19.99% is a guaranteed 19.99%. Moving cash into a high-interest savings account at 2.85% is a guaranteed 2.85%. Buying an index fund is a hope, a well-founded one, but a hope. Rank those correctly, and you're the person who's $64,000 ahead. Rank them wrong, and you're the one who did everything right and still fell behind. Which is a specific kind of frustrating, and it is the most common outcome in this country. Most advice never mentions any of this. It tells you to save 20% of your income and stops talking. It never tells you where the 20% goes first, which is the only part that changes anything. So picture the two of them. Both 52, both in Hamilton, both making $85,000, both putting the same $700 a month toward their future. Identical inputs, 13 years, and a $64,000 gap at the end of it. That's not a motivational story. That's arithmetic. Here's the arithmetic. Number 1. They take the free money before they take anything else. If you work for a company with a group registered retirement savings plan or a profit-sharing plan, there's a good chance your employer matches part of what you put in. In Canada, the typical match runs 3 to 5% of your salary. Sit with that. On $85,000, a 4% match is $3,400 a year, handed to you, for the crime of filling out a form in the Human Resources Office. Now run it forward. That $3,400 a year, contributed for 13 years growing at 6%, comes out to $64,199. That's the gap between the two people in Hamilton. $64,000 he didn't earn, he showed up and checked a box. There is no other move available to a salaried Canadian that pays like this. Not one. The stock market's long-run average is around 9% a year, and that's the S&P/TSX composite going back to 1960. Your employer match pays 100% on the match dollar the instant it clears. Instantly, guaranteed, before a single day of market risk. So why would anyone walk past free money? Because the enrollment form is boring, it lives on a benefits portal nobody logs into, and no one at work will ever chase you about it. The money is real. The reminder isn't. If you're not sure whether you have a match, that's the entire homework from this video. 1 email to payroll. Today, number 2, and this is where the standard advice actively hurts you. You've heard pay yourself first your whole life. It's a fine slogan. It's also American, and it assumes you don't have a balance on a credit card. Here's the Canadian reality. According to the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, roughly 29% of Canadian cardholders carry a balance from month to month, and the average balance carried is about $3,800. And this isn't a young person problem. Equifax data from the first quarter of 2026 shows that among Canadians aged 55 to 64, only 52.3% pay their card in full. Just about half the people watching this are carrying something. Now the math. A standard Canadian credit card charges 19.99%. On $3,800, that's $759.62 a year, every year, forever, for nothing. Meanwhile, the best ongoing high-interest savings account in this country right now pays around 2.85%. Put that same $3,800 in the savings account, and you earn $108.30. So the person who pays themselves first while carrying that balance is earning $108.30s and paying $759.62. They are losing $651.32 a year on purpose while feeling responsible about it. How does a person lose $651.32 a year while feeling responsible? Like that. It looks like discipline and it functions like a slow leak. And before you go rate shopping, know that most of those eye-catching numbers are theater. The 4.60% you see advertised is a promotional teaser that expires in about 5 months and drops to 0.30%. Nobody sends you a letter when it happens. If you're carrying high-interest debt, that debt is the highest guaranteed return available to you. Full stop. Not the market. Not the savings account. The card. 2 ways to kill it, and the research disagrees with itself in an interesting way. The avalanche method, highest interest rate first, mathematically minimizes what you pay. It wins on paper every time. But work published in the Journal of Marketing Research by Gall and McShane, and separately by Remy Trudel at Boston University Writing and Harvard Business Review, both found the same thing. People who attack the smallest balance first, the snowball, are more likely to actually finish. Closing an account is a psychological event. It creates momentum the spreadsheet can't model. The optimal plan you abandon in March loses to the decent plan you finish. Pick the one you'll actually do. If this is useful so far, hit subscribe. I break down Canadian money mechanics like this every week. CPP, OAS, taxes, the whole apparatus. Now number 3, the timing. They move the money the day it arrives, automatically, and they never touch it manually again. This sounds like small advice. It is the most heavily documented finding in the entire field. So what actually changed in those studies? Nobody's discipline. Watch, in 2001, 2 economists, Brigitte Madrian and Dennis Shea, published a study in the Quarterly Journal of Economics on what happens when a workplace savings plan is set to automatic instead of optional. Participation went from about 49% to about 86%. Same people, same jobs, same money. The only thing that changed was whether saving was the default. Then, Richard Thaler and Shlomo Benartzi went further with a program called Save More Tomorrow, published in the Journal of Political Economy. They set contributions to rise automatically with every raise. Savings rates went from 3.5% to 13.6% in under 4 years. Roughly 80% of people stayed in. Nobody got more disciplined. Nobody watched a motivational video. The transfer just happened before they could think about it. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada actually says this out loud on their own website. Their guidance is to automate the transfer on the days you get paid, and the reason they give is specific, so you avoid having to reach for expensive credit later. That's the government telling you the point of saving is to stay off the card. 2 practical notes. First, set the transfer for the day the deposit lands, not the first of the month. Money that sits in a checking account for 11 days develops opinions about itself. Second, if you've been avoiding automation because you're scared of an overdraft, that fear is out of date. As of March 12, 2026, non-sufficient funds fees at Canadian banks are capped at $10 nationally. They used to run $45 to $48. Banks also can't charge you more than once every 2 business days. The downside of getting this slightly wrong just got a lot cheaper. Number 4, the form. This is the one that separates people who are good at this from people who are excellent at it, and it takes about 20 minutes once a year. Here's the setup. You contribute to your registered retirement savings plan. In April, the CRA sends you a refund. You feel good. You put it toward the deck or the trip, or more likely the card you were carrying at 19.99% all year. Think about what actually happened there. You lent the government money, interest-free, for 12 months, and then thanked them when they gave it back. Who wrote that arrangement? Not you. There is a form that stops it. It's called the T1213, the request to reduce tax deductions at source. You send it to your tax services office with proof you're contributing to your RRSP regularly. The CRA reviews it and issues something called a letter of authority. You hand that to payroll. Payroll then withholds less tax from every single check all year. Same refund. Delivered in 52 pieces instead of 1. Run the numbers on it. Say you contribute $12,000 a year and your marginal rate is 30%. That's $3,600 you've been waiting until spring to see. Spread across 26 pay periods, it's $138.46 more in your hands, every 2 weeks, starting immediately. And $138.46 every 2 weeks is not a rounding error to somebody paying down a card. It's the difference between the plan working and the plan being theoretical. The catch, and there's always one. Processing takes 4 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer. And you have to refile every single year. File it in October or November so the letter reaches payroll before January. This is not a secret. It's a public form on a public website. It's just deeply professionally boring, and boring is where the money hides. Does this work for everyone? No. Here's who it doesn't work for. The National Payroll Institute's annual survey found that 1 in 4 Canadians live paycheck to paycheck. H&R Block found the average Canadian saves about 7% of their pay against a rule of thumb that says 20. If you're in that group, automating a transfer into savings while your card revolves is worse than doing nothing, because you'll pull the money back out and pay a fee for the privilege. For that household, the order collapses to 2 steps. Capture the match because it's free. Then throw everything else at the highest rate you're paying. That's it. That's the plan. And that plan is not a failure, it's a sequence, and it ends with the other 2 steps once the card is dead. One more thing worth knowing, because it eats everything above quietly. Morningstar's 2025 fee study puts the asset-weighted average management expense ratio on Canadian mutual funds at 1.47%. A broad index fund costs between 0.05 and 0.25%. On a $200,000 portfolio, that's $2,940 a year versus $400 a year. The difference is $25.40 annually, more than the employer match we just spent 5 minutes celebrating. Where do you think that goes? Starting with your 2026 statements, which land in early 2027, Canadian firms have to show you that number in actual dollars instead of a percentage buried on page 9. A lot of people are going to open that envelope and have a moment. So, where does that leave you? Maximum Canada pension plan at 65 in the 2026 year is $1,507.65 a month, and almost nobody gets the maximum. Old age security at 65 is $742.31. Add them up, and that's roughly $2,250 a month before tax for a full working life. The Bank of Canada's overnight rate is sitting at 2.25% after 6 straight holds. Inflation came in at 3.2% in May. Your TFSA room, if you've never used it, is $109,000, and the 2026 contribution limit is $7,000. Those are the conditions. You don't vote on them. So what's actually yours? The 48 hours after the money hits. That's the whole list. Take the free money. Kill the 1999 before you chase the 2.85. Automate on deposit day, not month end. And file the T1213 so the refund shows up while you can still use it. 4 moves. Same order. The first one is an email to payroll, and you can send it before this video finishes buffering the next one. Subscribe if you want the rest of it, because next week I'm doing the one that follows directly from this. The exact age to take Canada Pension Plan. And why the government's own break-even math is not the math you should be using.